watching Barnstable This Morning. I'm Sarah Colvin. It's no question that homelessness is one of the biggest issues that we have to deal with in town right now. And to talk with me a little bit about the work of the Committee to Assess Homelessness, I welcome Precinct 13 Town Councilor Jen Cullum, who's also the chair of the committee. Jen, thank you so much for coming in.
I'm happy to come in and explain our mission.
Wonderful. Yeah. So I wanted to talk a little bit, obviously I think people are aware that this committee is doing work. You guys are meeting quite frequently, have received a lot of press over what you're doing, but today we're kind of here to dispel a little bit of some of the inconsistencies that have come out. So first, I wanted to talk a little bit about the role of the committee. Now it's called the Committee to Assess Homelessness. So you guys are kind of taking a look at the services. Tell me a little bit about your mission.
So the genesis of the entire committee really came about because of where I live in my precinct, where there were camps in people's backyards essentially, and it was a really unsafe and unfair, quite frankly, scenario. Unfair to both the people living in the camps and the people who own the property that abutted the camps. So it's been a concern for at least 4 years, the 4 years that I've been a councilor, and finally now I felt like we had the purview to really kind of broach the subject. So I asked in December that we form this committee, and simultaneously Sarah Cushing formed the committee to assess the drug problem, the opioid problem.
Indeed.
So they were it was kind of a two-pronged effort to just figure out how much skin in the game we actually have. It turns out we have a lot of skin in the game, but we really have no say in it because we're not a human services type of government. We don't have a human services branch in our local government. So what we do is we pay for the police and we pay for the EMS. We pay for all the emergency services, but we have no say in what's happening really in our own backyard. So to me, it was kind of a similar issue to what was happening with Fresh Holes when I first became a councilor and we started the whole Problem Properties Ordinance, which has been fantastic, by the way, and saved us a lot of money. It was just too much money going to one spot and very little conversation about how the town could help that. So what we've discovered, everything to assess homelessness, right? So we go in and we start looking at everything and we look at the costs and we break it out and we look at the different services that are involved. And what we discovered? That everybody is trying really hard to solve the problem. Everybody. NOAA is trying, Duffy is trying, council of churches are trying. The problem is we need to try harder. And so what we've learned from our committee so far is that we really need someone at the table from a town perspective. So we've voted to recommend to the town council that we fund a coordinator position, a 50-50 split between LaRusso, they're very generous, and kind of repurposing some town manager funds that haven't been used in 2016 to get us a coordinator, well paid, well versed, and able to come in and really let us know where we're falling short. I say to everybody, I know you're doing 100%, and thank you for that. Now we need to do 110% until we get somewhere on the issue.
Absolutely. So talk to me a little bit more about the role of this outreach coordinator. I'm assuming this would be a kind of a full-time position,
yeah.
And would this be someone that would kind of go in and meet with the directors, the leaders of the social service agencies, and just have kind of weekly conversations?
Have a conversation. Because what's happened over the years, when we had the Main Street Initiative going, which was, I think, the most recent success that we have in dealing with this problem and really helping house the people that are hard to house. Because remember, the people who are in the woods aren't ready to move into your apartment next door. They need services to get them to that point. So what's happened is when the Main Street Initiative kind of stopped meeting because it was so successful, everything started to kind of go back again. And couple that with the opioid crisis the way it is and how we feed everybody at the Salvation Army and at the Faith Assembly and everything else. So we become kind of a mecca, because you can come and you can hang and everything else. So this is what we're doing is we're taking the Main Street Initiative and trying to implement phase 2. The coordinator position, to get to your point, would be one that would do exactly what you said, to be able to talk to agencies, to outreach workers, collate information, get the conversation going. How can we facilitate this person from this point in their life to this point in their life in the most meaningful way?
Right.
And I want to make it really clear that we're very client-oriented in the mission. I'm not a human services person, but I was elected to my office to ask these tough questions. And I know they make everyone very uncomfortable. Everyone's very uncomfortable when I walk in the room these days. But these questions are really important. And my constituents and the constituents in the town of Barnstable deserve an answer.
Right.
They need to know where their taxpayer dollars are going. Because don't forget, it's not just funded at the local level. We also have state and federal funds coming in for this stuff.
Absolutely.
So when you look at the disproportionate amount of your particular contribution, we can't just continue with the same problem. We have to troubleshoot to try to find some solutions. Because as it is right now, we're all in at 100%. The problem's getting worse every year, and we're not seeing any gain on that.
Right, and it certainly there's no question that we do need services here in Barnstable on Cape Cod. Really, there are people who are in need of perhaps a meal or perhaps health care or help in transition. And certainly there are so many facets. There are the couch surfers all the way to the people who are living in the woods who may not be ready to ask for help, and so that presents even more of a challenge. But again, I think one of the essences of what your committee is trying to do is really take a look at those services. What are they doing? Where are the gaps and where are the overlaps so that everyone can work together? We're all kind of serving the same population, so I think it would behoove everyone to be able to work together and be on the same page.
And I think we really are. I mean, the committee that we have is, I think, very diverse, brings a lot of different expertise, frustrations, concerns to the table. We have Deb Crow as our at-large member who is working very hard with the Transitional Living Center. Heidi from Duffy has been very, very helpful in kind of getting the outreach workers together and getting us an idea of what they need in order to move forward with us in a combined effort. So it's been a lot of people from different aspects getting together. The BPD has been fantastic because they really were the boots on the ground for the last few years and can tell us where the gaps are. We have 5 different council members who are, I think, incredibly dedicated to helping the problem. And I just want to say that we've had some major success as well with the Council of Churches. I think I just want everyone to understand. I'm not trying to rout anybody out of town. We're not asking you to not fulfill your mission at all. We're just saying, can we help with that mission? And can we all do 10% better to help solve the problem? For instance, we've been meeting with the Council of Churches on a sort of protocol for behavior, like a code of conduct for feeding the food insecure. Okay, so what happens is that if someone misbehaves at NOAA, if they're rowdy, if they're under the influence, and they get kicked out, they can go to either Salvation Army or Faith Assembly if they're serving that night, where there are families maybe eating because they can't make ends meet. And is that fair to subject that critical community that we're really trying to help to such stuff? No. So we're working with the Council of Churches to get a code of conduct together, which I think will be really helpful in the long run, saving taxpayer dollars with regard to police calls. So, and
quite frankly, the bars and restaurants do that. I mean, they have if someone gets kicked out of, say, the 19th hole, and then they try to go to embargo, they'll they talk to each other, and so that they know. And so that almost reminds me of, and again, that's just an example of people working together.
Exactly.
Not to say that person's not going to eventually end up getting some help, and maybe that's part of that as well with this kind of network.
That's the ultimate goal.
Someone's too rowdy, okay, well, maybe we need to pay a little bit more attention to this person.
The ultimate goal is to focus the services around the client. Simultaneously, the ultimate goal is to relieve the pressure on the neighborhoods from the camping. So we are camp free at this point, from what I understand, and the police have made a commitment to do the sweeps and try to make sure we stay camp free. And now we need to focus on that population and how we're going to move it forward. So I don't see this committee going away anytime soon. I think we will be vibrant and active for the next couple of years, because remember, once we get to the end of getting the people out of the woods and getting the food thing and the protocol of code of conduct together, what do we do with the people who are ready for housing when there is none on Cape Cod?
Exactly.
So we're looking at different models to help with that too, but I really wanted to come in today to talk about the grassroots effort, because ultimately the constituents are the boss. And when the constituents call you constantly, I can hear camps in my backyard, I can hear people in my backyard, my constituents even go to the camps, which is extremely dangerous, because the people in the camps there's many reasons that they might be there. They might be felons, they might be addicts, they might be mentally ill. There's just no reason to go to the camps. If you suspect you see something like that, please call the police and then and get in touch with me.
Right, and I know that I've seen some signage that has gone up that kind of explains that is an illegal activity here in the town of Barnstable, and again, that certainly is a concern, and I think that as we get closer to the summer season, we'll be able to kind of take a look and say, is this being effective? Is the word getting out that this is not going to be tolerated? Yeah,
exactly. Well, those signs actually came out of the committee. Some were up randomly around town, but we had a subcommittee form off of our committee that looked at that with legal. But you know, I want to thank every member of the board, the police for constantly showing up, the press for what they've done, and I just think that if we move forward together, we're going to break down the silos that have occurred. When everybody runs for the same money every year, there's no reason to talk. Right? But with us, with a coordinator position, there's a reason to talk. And I think that if we have back of the envelope calculation for if you're a Hyannis ratepayer, you're paying upwards of $800,000 a year for a problem that doesn't get better.
Right.
So that's the ultimate, fiscally, that's my ultimate wedge there. And not only is it not getting better, we're not serving the people we promised to serve, right? So,
exactly.
On any level.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So the Committee to Assess Homelessness, your meetings, of course, are open to the public.
Oh, yeah.
How frequently do you meet? It seems like you've been meeting almost
weekly.
every week.
We've been meeting weekly. A couple of times it hasn't worked out for space issues. We've been live, actually, recorded live for a lot of those meetings. Last week we were at the BPD because we couldn't find a home in Town Hall. Wednesday we're meeting this week, I believe, at 5 o'clock.
Great.
But I always have, at every meeting I chair, there is lively public comment. Please come, please speak your piece, it's important. And just know that I think we're taking a very measured approach. I think we're open and honest about our commitment to the community. I think everyone is doing 100%. We're looking for everyone to do more than that. I think they will. And you know, my mission with the committee is to make our neighborhoods safe first, and we can move forward from there.
Absolutely, and I think it goes without saying that certainly it is a community issue, and it's something that I don't think one person or one committee is going to solve. It's going to be solved by the whole community coming together and working together to help these people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And help each other.
Right. Well, we have now. I mean, one of the big gripes from the police department was that they were really the only outreach out there in the woods, and I think part of that is because outreach workers don't feel safe in the woods without police presence. You know, so that was a small part of it. But since then, and since the conception of the committee, NOAA has a person that will be going, I believe, in the next month or so out to the woods. Duffy's right on board with Rick Smiley, who's been doing a great job. And we hear positive things back from the police. And ultimately, I trust the police because they've been handling the problem for 2 years.
Absolutely.
So more than that, especially under the Community Impact Unit with Lieutenant Challies and Sergeant Parkasellis, so Jason Sturgis. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you.
Counselor, thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, always a pleasure to have you. Counselor Jen Cullum, of course, serving Precinct 13 and serving as chair of the Committee to Assess Homelessness. You can check on townofbarnstable.us. Look at the public calendar for when their next public meeting is. For Barnstable This Morning, I'm Sarah Colvin.